Hey guys, Moses with Negron Tech here. So today I'm going to bring you my Penance brand of Dissipation build guide and kind of an overview. You know, a lot of people have been posting footage of it, but not really talking about it. I talked about it in my last video, but there was some misinformation about the actual stack size. It does cap at 20, but we'll just get right into it. How does a build work? It's a one-button build for mapping. It's a brand build. At most, you're going to press 2 buttons, and that's going to be your Blessing and your Conductivity Curse when you get to some tanky rares. But that's really it. It's extremely simple build. It's very easy, super chill to play. And if you're old, 30-plus-year-old like me who's a monkey, not good at the game, this is like the dream play style, right? Brands are extremely safe to play and very satisfying with an extremely accurate uptime on DPS when it comes to mapping and bossing. Now, talking about bossing, that is far and away the biggest strength of the build. It's absolutely busted. It's a bonkers skill. It's most likely going to get gutted next league in typical GGG fashion. And you'll see if you've been paying attention on, the ladder and stuff like that. A lot of the SSF hardcore players are kind of pivoting to this because it's so damn good. Now, talking about the weaknesses, right? The clear speed is definitely lacking. Now, this can be circumvented with Impulseless Explodes. Now, I'm SSF. I was gifted by Gwenin to get the Gwenin Gods to get an Impulseless. But if you're in trade league, it's not really a big deal. You just buy it off the trade market. No biggie, right? Now, before you go to the comments and say, oh, Moses, like, the clear is so doggy. Haha, this is not as fast as my LA Lightning Arrow belt. Yeah, well, no shit, Timmy. Okay, so we got it, right? Some people don't really care too much about clear speed and blasting and stuff like that. Like, it's a nice, chill, enjoyable playstyle that focusing on bossing. And again, I talked about it in my last video, but really ever since, I don't want to say Expedition, but definitely Arch Nemesis, every league it's overtuned. Every league, the mechanic really dictates that these rares, these Expedition Essence rares, along with the league mechanic, Mac mechanic, especially this league, with the Wisp, they just get so goddamn juicy that favoring single target, even for mapping, is actually a very, very good route to go. Because if you don't go that route, if you just make a map blaster that has no real reliable good single target damage, you're kind of missing out on the league mechanic in these high maps, right? You can go yellow maps like T8s to 10s and blast, full quantity wisp from the league mechanic that way, but I want to do at least the T14s to get a chance at those really juicy jewels and try to enjoy the league mechanic, get that king and a miss, and hopefully get some build defining uniques, right? So again, I do favor relatively lesser clear if I'm going to get extreme single target DPS and be able to handle these nice juicy rares and really juice the maps up. Alright, so how does the build work? It's a brand, you cast it on an enemy or in the area, it attaches to them, and it gets stages. Again, my last video, a little bit of misinformation. The tooltip does not state it has a cap, but the consensus and from POB, it does seem to be that the 20 stacks is actually the cap, like the old Penance brand, right? So what does that mean? In order to maximize our DPS, we have to either increase cast time, increase duration, and again, increasing your cast speed is going to increase your activation speed, get to those 20 stacks faster, or a combination of the both. Now, to maximize the DPS, it's simple. Get a bunch of increased cast speed, not more. Remember, more does not affect activations. The faster you get to 20 stacks, the faster you reach your top end DPS. Now for duration. You do want to invest a bit in duration, either through skill effect duration or brand duration, because even if you get to the 20 stacks, if your duration is not able to maximize the amount of time that you're at 20 stacks, your damage isn't actually going to be good. It's not going to be reflective of that DPS. You want to be at that 20 stacks for a decent amount of time so you actually get that accurate tooltip POB DPS. It should make sense. Not too complicated. Get to 20 stacks, get a lot of cast speed, and then stay at 20 stacks with a combination of duration so you're actually maximizing DPS, right? If that's complicated to you, it's not too bad. Just be thankful that it's not Wintertide brand, because that's a whole other shit show of a mechanic, right? All right, guys, so let's take a look at the POB, right? Because they finally updated it. The Penance brand Dissipation actually has the activation per brand. They have the max pulse that you can get. So pretty much it tells you right here, energy pulse is stacks at 20, caps at 20, and then it tells you what your actual max pulse is, and it has the activations, right? So you don't want to just get to 20 activations per brand. Again, like I talked about, you actually want to get more than that and then some. What's going to happen is, like, the total duration, let's say we have 40 activations, right? the skill, let's just say easy math, this is not true, but let's just say it activates, it has a total attachment duration of 4 seconds. If we have 40 activations with a 20-second cap, 2 seconds are going to be a buildup, 2 seconds are going to be at that max hit DPS. Hopefully that makes sense. What I'm trying to explain to you is that you need enough duration, either through brand duration or skill effect duration, to lean towards having more maximize hit DPS on that brand duration, right? So you don't want to just get to 20, because if you get to 20 stacks and you only have 24 activations, you're only at that DPS cap for 0.4, you know, really, what, like maybe not even like half a second. Like, it depends, you know, the map's going to be different depending on your gear and your skill tree and your ascendancy and stuff like that, but you get what I'm saying. You don't want to just be, you know, at like 24 to 25 even. I think at minimum you would want to be 30 plus, because that way, let's say you had the 4 seconds, then at least you would have like at least a second of max hit DPS. Now the skill is just nutty regardless, so I'm not sure how the Inquisitors are building it, but it is worth it to get skill effect duration, because you really, I think 40 is actually kind of probably the magic number, and I'm not too far from it. Again, my gear sucks. I'm a monkey, SSF, not good at crafting, all that stuff, but a lot of work to do there. So that's how the skill works. Not too complicated, right? Get those increases to cast speed, try to max it out, get as much activations per brand as you can in a combination with skill effect duration and brand duration, right? So that's that. So all right, so for actual Ascendancy, I am, again, Elementalist. I pivoted from Wintertide brand. It's really hard to scale Cold Dot without going low life as a Wintertide brand in SSF. Couldn't get a Chevrons, blah, 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 right? So all these things are very good. Mastermind Discourse, huge lightning reduction when it comes to exposure. Very good. Allows us to do a lot of damage. We get Convergence when we hit a unique enemy. Lasts 4 seconds. 4 seconds on, 4 seconds off, right? Every 8 seconds. Now, the AoE is very good. It allows us to circumvent some skill points to invest in AoE. We don't have to do this, right? We don't have to do that over there. Just nice quality of life. Now, Golems are, I don't want to say in a weird spot, but for me, they're pretty underrated. I think they're actually excellent. And the way I look at it is that in skills like this, where we want a lot of things, when we have a lot of mechanics going on, we need the duration, we need cast speed, we need more damage, you know, Golems give you a little bit of everything, right? We get massive tankiness. Chaos Golem, is just nutty, right? If we go to configuration, take off Guardian Pinnacle, and we look at our effective hit pool, then we take off our Golems, like, look how much that goes down. Like, that's absolutely nutty. Like, again, it's not completely accurate with POB when it comes to the effective hit pool. There's a lot more going on, right? But it's just something to think about, right? Chaos Golem is nuts. Flame Golem is just good general damage. Ice, crit. I don't go ice in this setup. I favor flame and lightning instead. I feel like stone and chaos are mandatory, but going into lightning golem, it's just really excellent. Lightning golem just gives us free cast speed, which synergizes very well with the brand playstyle. We get 5 activations right there, which is kind of nutty, and then it also allows you to get more shield charge quality of life if you're going to go that route with your mobility and mapping. Now, the biggest thing that's really talked about is Stone Golem. Similar to like how a lot of Inquisitors are able to utilize RF with Pious Path and the well, not Pious Path, but just getting the guaranteed Consecrated Ground and all that regen, we get that too, right? So just by going Stone Golem, the way I look at it is that like a Golemancer is the tankiness and utility, cast speed, more damage, regen. It's also 39% more damage multiplier because we get to go RF without really doing anything too crazy. Like, we get to go RF without having to do any real regen investments. We get the natural regen over here. I go hardy. It's not needed at all. I'm also going to go Purity of Fire, but I'll talk about that in the aura section. But Stone Golem really allows us to do that. And again, even when they do die, you know, it's kind of rare, but if and when they do die, they get resummoned anyway. It's not like you're just going to instant pop with RF. Like, you have enough regen. And again, this is SSF. Like, you don't even need to use that anointment on your amulet. You can just get some flat regen here and there, adjust the tree, and that's that. But again, Golemancer, very underrated, very good. Is it as good as Inquisitor? No. But if you are somebody like me and you don't really like to re-level, like, it takes me maybe 5-6 hours campaign, sometimes longer, sometimes shorter. But as an SSF player, I kind of like, again, I work 9 to 5. I have a full-time job. I don't have all the time in the world, and I cover other games. So it's difficult to just roll a whole bunch of characters. Normally, I do 2, maybe 3 a league, but that's that. So talking about the tree, we are a crit build. We're a brand build. Again, we get some of the brand stuff here. The brand stuff really isn't completely needed, but I do like getting duration. I like getting the crit here. You get crit where you can. There's a lot of nodes here that I'm missing, right? I'm more defensive focused. I like getting the chaos res here because I like to just focus on not dying on mapping because I don't really have all the time. Like when I die, it really does matter because now all of a sudden, like I just lost, you know, a lot of time. Like that's time I've, that's literally like an hour or so, right? Depending on what point in the game, what point of the levels you are. So like time investment for me is very, very important, which is why I focus very, very defensively. Now, this is pretty typical tree. It's kind of similar to how a lot of the triple 50% aura trees go that will go all the way to charisma, and they'll adjust the tree that way to be able to go 350% auras. I don't go that route because it's not really needed, and again, I don't have all the regrets in the world, but we just get suppressed where we can. Ideally, we would get suppression here with getting evasion and energy shield, armor, boots, gloves, and helmet, but again, I'm working on that gear. Then you just get life, some damage here and there, but there's a lot of flexibility here. If you want to transition to ball scene, if you want to get an extra curse, it's a big, big damage increase with Ellie weakness added on. Get all this crit. You can get some crit here. You get some more lightning damage here. There's even a way, I'll talk about it in the gem section, but you might be able to, with the gloves, fizz the lightning, completely get rid of fizz the lightning. But fizz and lightning on the gem is actually, at least in my setup with my gear level, it's like I haven't found a way to circumvent that and actually just not go on the tree with that way. But there's a lot of things you can do here. If you want, you know, more Ellie ammo avoidance, you know, you just have a lot of options here. Very, very flexible tree. In the POB, I did add some like start to level and add some regen there. I don't recommend going RF as soon as you start mapping. Again, it's not just about maintaining RF, but it's about getting RF to a point where you're still regenning enough after you're using RF consistently. And the nice thing about that is that even if you don't utilize RF in mapping, because you really don't need to, the damage is great. If you want to just do it for ball scene and like some of the map mechanics and the rares, you can do that, but your regen is just absolutely nutty to where like you're just the walking juggernaut as Elementalist, right? So that's kind of the skill tree overview. Not too in-depth, but crit, spell suppression, defensive, I'll talk about in a bit with the auras and stuff like that, but very, very utility kind of tree. Get some cast speed decks, and I really like doing it this way just because it's a little bit easier to circumvent some of those decks and strength requirements when it comes to gear, because I, you know, as SSF of hate needing like the exact piece of like all attribute strength decks and stuff like that. So talking about the gem setup, I just organized it kind of nicely. Hopefully it's easy to understand here. We use Flame Golem, Lightning Golem, because I favor the attack and cast speed more than I do the crit. I'd rather have those more activations, get that higher uptime on the cap when it comes to Penance brand. Chaos Golem, because it's just broken, very, very good fizz reduction. Chaos Golem's even at the point where you don't even need to run Determination, let's say when you get to early maps, and Flame Golem and Stone Golem, obviously. So for our big auras, we're going to go Determination, Grace, and Purity of Fire. I'll talk about it. I'll do it right now, right? So I do have a Shaper Shield. I like this for the end game. I know Manny does this on his Inquisitor, but it's just really, really nice because it kind of allows, at least my version, to circumvent going Charisma, and we still get Grace, Determination, and Purity of Fire. You don't have to go Purity of Fire, but I just really, really like getting way, way more regen than I need when it comes to Righteous Fire and Stone Golem. And then, obviously, with the Gravicious Craft on chest, if you don't go Impulses, and you have the Fizz taken as Fire, Eldritch Implicit. Very, very good. There's a lot of ways to really min-max this. I think it's the Searing Exarch Shield is also Fizz the Fire, so if you want to use that and not go this route, you can. And just know, in the tree, I did not go Mana Mastery for the Reservation because of the shield. So, you know, if you start getting the early maps, you can just go that route. You can drop Purity of Fire. If you want to do the triple aura, triple 50% aura, then you can go that route too. But Grace, Determination, just absolutely, absolutely incredible tankiness. Mapping is so, so smooth. I favor this a lot over going like a damage aura like Hatred or Zealotry. And real quick, talking about Hatred and why the Elementalist is not as good as Inquisitor. You have to remember, when we're talking about Fizz as extra Ellie, it's only good as Elementalist with lightning. The Inquisitor can really use every Fizz as extra element because they ignore resistance anyway. We only really cause the enemy to get negative lightning resistance. So when it comes to gearing and stuff like that, Fizz is lightning. We don't really... Hatred has a lot less value compared to something like Zealotry, right? So the rest of the auras going to be... Where are we? Defiance Banner. I get free Defiance Banner, but again, you don't really need it. You can just go the Mana Mastery to get that. But the Primalist stuff, like, it's just really, really good. Again, every league you get some power creep, some borrowed power, right? And I just use Defiance Banner, but it's not needed. It's not like a huge... actually, it actually really is when it comes to just general mapping, but... You know, that's that. We also use Vitality, just help circumvent that RF. It's, you know, it's very, very close. But I just, again, I like going over what the actual RF region is. And then, so for our guard skill, we go Molten Shell. I need to get Val Molten Shell working on that. Mobility, I use Frost Blink of Wintry Blast. No cooldown compared to the other Frost Blink. But the issue is that it has very, very bad cast time. But because we invest a lot in cast speed, it doesn't feel too bad. So, generally for bossing, I like the Orbis Thorns Power Charge on crit combo. For mapping, I actually go Power Charge on critical for my 6th link. Golems. And for the Blessing, we actually go Zealotry. Compared to the Inquisitor, we don't go Hatred because, again, it does not have as much value when it comes to Fizz as extra cold because we're not lowering the enemy's cold resistance. Like, the Zealotry just has much more value. And one other note about Zealotry that's very, very good is that we actually get access to Consecrated Crown when it comes to bossing and mapping with those tanky rares. It's something that you don't really think about, but it's actually very, very good because now we regen even more. So all of a sudden, like, if I toggle Consecrated Ground over here, now our region's like, oh wow, it's even better, right? So it's just a nice quality of life for mapping and even bossing too. You get some sticky situations that regen might go and actually save your life. And again, the Purity Fire, Determination, Grace. Early mapping, I do change Purity Fire. If you don't have impulses, let's say you're SSF, you're never going to impulses, you can just go Tempest Shield for Shock Immunity. Talking about ailments, Shock Immunity you get from the chest, you can go Tempest Shield instead of Purity Fire if you want. Again, Purity Fire, well, in this case, I don't have the max fire resist because of the gear, but again, the Purity Fire also circumvents having a fire resist on gear in some of those situations, so that's nice too. But with the Soul of the Bride King, we get Freeze Immunity, huge, and we get Reduce Effect to Chill. You can combine Reduce Effect to Chill with Boots to pretty much negate Chill Effect. I like it a lot because what's going to happen is that you just pretty much immune to Chill, and even without the Boots, I don't actually have the Boot Craft, but like the 50% is just... For general mapping, it's enough for me. And then Soul of Aberrath, I like because some of the Ignite mods are just, like, disgusting. That Soul combined with Ringcraft, you're immune to Ignite. And then other ailments, you know, we work what we can with Flask, on use, stuff like that. But you can always just go here and Arcane Sanctuary and use some of this stuff to get ailments around with other gear, crafts, and stuff like that. But those are our defenses. Our offensive aura is going to be, again, the Zealotry. You can, for bossing, you know, switch it up with Grace Determination and go more offensive auras. It's a lot of flexibility to be able to really, you know, make it your own and really kind of do some things. Like, again, like, if you want to go Occultist, like, I actually, I got 2 Call of the Brotherhoods at SSF. So there is, you know, if you wanted to go the Convergence shenanigans and go pure cold Penance brand, that would probably be, that might even be one of the best builds actually when you think about it, just pure, and especially with the Primalist getting all those Fizz as extra chaos and Fizz as extra of element, just very, very, very good. All right, so for the main skill tree discussion, again, Penance brand, we are crit focused, so we get the crit damage, crit multi, crit strikes. We want to crit more. Again, the increased crits is very, very good because, again, for general mapping, you want to be able to shock. Our chance to shock is not too high. And when you crit, you shock, you get those big, juicy explosions. So you really want a good crit chance. I need better gear, but that's very, very good. I talked a little bit about the tree and the Fizz the Lightning. Fizz the Lightning is just such a good support gem. At least in my setups, there are ways that you can craft gloves, Fizz the Lightning, and then additionally, you can get the Lightning Mastery for Fizz the Lightning as well, but I'm not going that route. For the 5th one, we have 2, so that's pretty much guaranteed for those 3. Now we have the 2 more for bossing Conk Effect, but for general mapping, I actually just like Power Charge on crit. It's just more convenient, right? It is not completely reliable to get power charges on crit or Storms to have it up all the time while mapping. For bossing, yes, I keep it this way, but for mapping, no, just go, I wish I could zoom in here. Hopefully with the ultra-wide monitor, it's not too bad to look, but, you know, I gotta buy a new monitor. Okay, back to that. So, again, for general mapping, the power charge of crit is just smoother, more crits, more power charges. Like, I don't have to dash into a mob to get Orb Storms off and get those procs. And then for the last one, right? Faster casting. Now, this doesn't increase your damage, or does it? Now, I keep talking about this since the beginning of the video about the mechanics of the build, and it's hard to quantify how much increases the cast speed, increase your damage. We go from, I'll zoom in when I edit the video, but this gives us 7 activations per brand. It also just increases the hit DPS because you're increasing your stages and the actual activations that it's triggering, right? So not only is it increasing DPS that way, but you're getting to your max cap, which is what you really need. You have to get there. Like, again, it's not getting to just 20 stacks isn't helping you. Getting to 22, 24, 25 is not helping you. Like, if you're only going to be at max stacks for less than a second, are you really doing 2 million Guardian DPS a second? Like, are you actually doing that? Because you're not. Like, that's one thing about brands that's tricky, is that you can get all these multipliers, like LE Focus, even, like, let's say you don't care about shock, but let's just say you get like an LE Focus, but you're not getting the maximum brands. There's a balance that you need to strike. So I really favor faster casting. Not only is it an incredible DPS boost that's really kind of hard to quantify, maybe some mathematicians able to, you know, with a degree in POE is able to come up with like the correct math, like, yo, faster casting is far and away the best support, but it's also incredible in speeding up the activations and clearing those packs and maps too. But for me, this is pretty much mandatory. Faster casting, like if you have the 5 link at the general mapping, I would even drop power charge on crit. You have to get faster casting in there, right? Now, this is all blue for the Elementalist version. We are Eldritch Battery, so, you know, we can't use Inspiration, no Arcane Surge. We're not using mana. But, again, something to think about. If you're the Inquisitor, you would get 1 green, and because you're able to utilize that cold penetration, you can use Hyperthermia on chills. You can do this, too, for Elementalist. Like, if you wanted to go not golemancer and go shocks, I mean, but I just don't think it's worth it. Again, but for the Inquisitor, you would go the Hypothermia in the last shot, but that's the 6 link setup. Now, real quick, before we get into gear, we'll talk about the Primalist. I just get utility stuff here. I get more max fire res. It's just nice. More regen, less damage taken overall. Banner skills with no reservation. This pretty much gives me 3 free skill points. Frenzy charge is huge. It's incredible damage. The activations actually isn't too much, but again, the attack cast speed, shield charging, we want all the cast speed we can get. Frenzy charge is just a huge damage multiplier, and again, like, these leagues with borrower power, like, very good. Like, I've actually gotten very lucky. If you are just starting late to the league, or, you know, you don't really find the boss too much, I mean, you don't find the Primalist too much, you can always just go to Act 10. Every single one of these I found, except for this last one, was in Axe. Found these early in Axe. Does this show the eye level? No. But I found all these early in Axe, so it's kind of, you know, it's all RNG, right? But if you really want to target farm these good farms, I don't know what the trade market is, but I'm sure it's not too crazy. I've seen a lot of Frenzy on hit, phasing, a lot of banner for free reservation, more spell suppress. And, you know, that's pretty much it, guys. Now, getting to the gear. Now, how do we scale damage? We need increased spell damage, increased lightning, increased fizz, increased cast speed, you know, duration, stuff like that. But when it comes to the weapon, again, any type of double +1 lightning, +1 fizz would be great, +1 spell. I forgot who it is, but whoever the poison PF guy that does the poison Blade Vortex build, he has a really good guide on crafting a fractured +1 fizz, +1 all. So generally what would happen is, in this situation, you would buy, let's say, a fractured base. If you want a cheap one that's not +1 fizz, +1 all, +1 lightning, you can always go like just increase spell damage or another like fractured mod like that, right? Whatever is not the prefix suffix, right? You know, I'm not the crafting god, but you can follow his guy and just modify it. So instead of the damage over time fractured, you would just go a more fizz spell fractured, right? And then do those same kind of steps so you get the +1 fizz, +1 all, right? Not going to get too into it. But again, as the Elementalist, this is terrible. Really, all this, the Fizz as extra cold sucks. The added lightning to spells sucks because, again, we're not scaling added flat lightning. We need added flat Fizz for that conversion to actually apply. And even the +4 as non-chaos as extra chaos is not really good either. Ideally, the Shaper set, you would get at least one of the +1s, hopefully some cast speed, crit multi, and Fizz as extra lightning. But I would really favor the +1 levels and definitely some cast speed because it just really more quality of life, more field, more higher uptime. And I can't do the math on the top of my head, but again, like the faster you get to those 20 stacks, the longer you're maintaining those 20 stacks, the better and more damage. The shield is very, very interesting. Manny does this for his Inquisitor. I think I talked about this already, but again, the increased reservation efficiency, it just frees up a lot of, skill points and stuff like that. And the second thing is going to be the dealing double damage while focused. Extra lightning as chaos, very, very good. But one thing to note here, want to go back to Convergence real quick too. So let's say I use my 4-second example, a 4-second brand duration. In that case, as soon as you hit the enemy with Penance brand, you're going to activate your 30% more multiplier. I don't even have it in the configuration here, right? So we activate that Convergence, right? A free mill damage. So you're going to have, let's say, 4-second uptime on Convergence. If you have enough cast speed, every time you cast Penance brand, if you do it correctly, you're going to pretty much maximize your Convergence. It's pretty, I don't want to say brain dead, but it's something that don't think about too much when it comes to Heart of Destruction, right? Cast your 2 brands, it's going to hit immediately with enough activations. You could get, if you had 40 activations per brand, you would get 2 seconds of that 30% more multiplier, right? And then you would just wait, right? You would just wait because in this case, compared to other brands, you don't want to overcast over your brand. You want it to stay at that 20 stacks. So just let the brand finish its duration, let it deactivate. Look at the top left, and then once you see you have no more brands on the boss, recast the 2, and then you get your Convergence immediately. And then for those last, the back end, hopefully 2 seconds, 2 point something seconds, you'll get that 30% more multiplier. So something to think about. And at that point, what's going to happen is back to the shield, the extra damage while focus. I favor while focus much, much more. We don't have a lot of buttons suppressed. Like, it's a very nice build. Like, you have your conductivity, your blessing, and then your focus. Cast your brands, 1, 2, focus. And then you have your double damage in coinciding with your Convergence. It's very, very good. It's very simple. Like, that's thought-wise, that's really all you need to do. And then, again, I just have the wrong gear. It should be Evasion Energy Shield, so you can utilize your Mastery right here for more spell suppression because I'm not capped yet. And that's pretty much it. Get life, resist. Talking about some of the Eldritch Implicious, lightning exposure on hit is very, very good. Unnerve enemies, huge. The boots getting Fizz extra lightning. Any type of buff effect granted by golems is good too. I just want to see this real quick. Yeah, so it doesn't really give us an activation, but at least the Fizz as extra lightning is very, very good. Amulet is a big, big damage potential, right? I allocate Hardy just for quality of life, and at the time, I just ended up having those oils in SSF. I don't have a lot of currency right now, but crit multi, life, like, just huge. Like, crit multi, it's the same thing with, like, dot builds, right? Like, the crit multi, damage over time multiplier, it's a big DPS increase. I don't know what Death Rush is when it comes to mapping the cost in the Trade League, but it's just an incredible ring. Like, it's only a 2, but the Adrenaline is just, like, when you're mapping, like, you just destroy everything because you're just constantly getting that another 1 mil plus damage, the speed, the clearing, like the quality of life, it's very, very good. Plus getting the chaos res is good too. And then just, whatever ring you got, I got some flat res. The big thing is to reduce ignite duration if you do want to be ignite immune, which I prefer. And then, you get the best Stygian Vice that you can get. And again, when it comes to the actual Abyssal socket, try to get some life, some flat fizz to spells, good. Remember, you should be getting flat fizz to spells, not flat added elemental like lightning. That's not going to help you too much. And for Flasks, armor, evasion, some quicksilver, more suppress. Even with the suppress, I'm not capped, but, you work on it slowly but surely. And, you know, for I already talked about Primalist, but that's pretty much it for the tree, the gems, the defenses, the auras. I tried to add some little trees here and some gear sets, but even like early gear sets, like an early mapping, like it's just nutty the damage and stuff that you guys can do. Definitely give this skill a try. It's an incredible ability. Try to have fun with it this league before it gets gutted next league. And if you're somebody like me who don't really fuck around with the Uber bosses, like this is gonna allow you to really comfortably tackle Uber content and really get those achievements and get the challenge league and all those challenges done. And that's pretty much it, guys. Mostly with Negron Tech here. Hope you enjoy. Hopefully I gave you a little bit more analytical approach because, you know, I still haven't seen like a complete guide. With that said, before I close, when it comes to Inquisitor, again, it is better than Elementalist. And go to Manny, Manni. I followed his VD Spellslinger Dead ages ago. Guy is incredible. Just you can follow his Inquisitor, and I think he has a guide somewhere, but I think he has a YouTube channel too. But if you don't know, just go to POE profile and then go to Manny and look at his Inquisitor. That's the way you want to do it. And obviously scaling into the end game and stuff like that, just the Watcher's Eye, all that other stuff too. There's so many different ways to build it. Let me know in the comments what you guys are, how you're tackling this. And I'm actually curious to see if anybody is doing the double call, the Brotherhood, or some pure cold penance branch shenanigans. That would be pretty awesome. Mostly with Negron Tech here. Have a good one, guys.